Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines we have for you here. Ripple wins on cross-border. FTX judge approves a probe. Ethereum storm is brewing, and boy, is it a big storm. Will XRP pass Ethereum? We're going to talk about it. And how about this? President of Ripple, Monica Long, and her 2024 predictions. And how about an XRP 58,000% plus gain? Oh my gracious, we're going to talk about that in a couple other scenarios. And who the CIA really works for? I got news for you. We're going to get into all of that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube and digperspectives.com for exclusive content at the top of the screen. $2.66 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 5.4%. How nice is that for a change? Yeah, we see 66,800 plus for Bitcoin, 3,500 plus for Ethereum right now, but for how long? I don't know. 103.7 billion plus market cap for Tether. XRP slips back to the number 7 spot, but we're at 62 cents, 63 cents on Fiat Link. You'll see in a second. We're up 5.3 in the 24, off by 6% on the 7-day. The range of price is between 57 and 63 cents. You can see we're at the top of that range. XRP got that feeling like we might be out for a little stroll today, so keep your head on a swivel as far as that goes. But let's get into this, ladies and gentlemen. It's Ripple Labs wins rare award in payments technology. I covered it the other day, but this is an amazing thing. I want to explain this because they won an award basically highlighting their technology for payments and cross-border. Yeah, that's what Ripple does. Ripple wins. That's what they do. Yeah, how about that? Then there's this. How about more winning right here? This from Vet. Tomorrow, the XRP Ledger automated market maker will go live, and I'm rooting hard for all the amazing DeFi projects I've seen building on the XRP Ledger, as well as all the builders who made awesome tools and services. The XRP Ledger DEX never got the recognition it deserved, changing that. Absolutely. I want to take a moment to celebrate all the new projects and companies as well that have been waiting for automated market makers to go live on the XRP Ledger. We're just one day away, and I know Orchestrify is prepared for that moment, and I know Moy Finance is prepared for that moment. And guess what else? Moy Finance is going to be on stage at XRP Las Vegas. Guess what else? So is David Schwartz to talk about the features of the XRP Ledger like automated market makers. Guess what else? So is Honorable Christian Carlo talking about the digital dollar project and what it's going to take to remain dominant as a US dollar in a digital world. Listen, you know, I'm not kidding when I tell you this is not a cost. This is an investment you're making into yourself to come get this information directly from these sources, because you are going to learn things that you did not know before you got there. That's a fact. And you're going to learn it directly from the source. And by the way, while you're coming, book your room at XRP Las Vegas right on site at MGM. Because their rooms are gorgeous. The facility is beautiful. I had a goal of getting here to MGM in 3 years. We've done it in 2. This is a beautiful facility. They have the best restaurants, the best shopping, the best, if you want to play games and table games and all that other stuff, they have all of that, right? So, but look, I think we all know MGM is on par with class, right? Luxury, class, excellence. It's the pinnacle of Vegas. That's why we wanted to be there, and we are there. And you should click the link right here and get the discounted room before they're gone. There's limited availability. This is why I keep telling you about it. And it's going to run out. So make sure you get in there. And then get that digital asset benefit dinner ticket too. And by the way, very quickly, we're going to wrap this thing, but I just want to share this because we're 42 days out. We're going to be selecting anyone who buys a general admission ticket. We're going to be selecting one of you by the time the month is out here to join Digital Asset Investor and myself for a private dinner. And while you're at it, go get a ticket for the private dinner with Brad Garlinghouse on Friday night. And we do not conflict with that event. So when we get the winner there, we'll let you know where and when that will be. Super excited for all of this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it. We know about the rare award here. We know about the automated market makers. But let's learn about this. Judge approves a probe into Sullivan Cromwell's ties to FTX. Jeff Lynn says, that would be Jay Clayton, right? Jeff, you would be correct, sir. Yeah. Let's get that probe a-going. And speaking of probe, a storm is brewing for a probe into Ethereum now, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Tony for this thread. I want to read it to you really quickly here. Important facts on ETHgate. Bill Hinman, Jay Clayton approval gave a speech that said ETH was not a security. However, he had made major conflicts of interest because the law firm was getting paid by and was a part of the Ethereum Alliance. And Power Oversight was able to get emails, communications showing Hinman was warned by the SEC Ethics Office about these conflicts. Empower is currently suing the SEC again to get access to more documents, communications on this matter. Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake, which changes the thesis of what Hinman and Clayton based their analysis on to give Ethereum a non-security classification. Gary Gensler refuses to state if Ethereum is a security or not. He won't echo the statements of Hinman and Clayton. Even before Congress, he refused to answer. Gary will most likely take Ethereum ETF situation to courts. Recently, CFTC Chairman Rostin Benham spoke before Congress, highlighting the difference in view of the CFTC versus SEC on Ethereum being commodity versus security. The SEC and Gary Gensler approved Prometheum's license to custody Ethereum as a security. In my interview with Eric Kaplan, he echoed Gary's classification of altcoins as digital asset securities. Now reports are coming out from Fortune that a government is investigating the Ethereum Foundation and the SEC is looking to classify ETH as a security. What could save this storm from becoming a Category 5 tornado with massive destruction to the crypto industry, government officials, SEC, and more? Congress will have to pass legislation. I don't know if any of this will affect ETH's performance in the bull market. It may or may not. I've seen crazy things in this crypto market, and well said, so have I. I want to remind everybody that going after Ethereum for being proof of stake versus proof of work is avoiding the original ICO security fundraise that took place that William Hinman gave a free pass for. Let's not forget that part, right? And let's not forget this either. Last night, I went to Washington, D.C. and met the digital asset investor, and we went over to have a special meeting and invitation to meet and speak with Senator Chuck Grassley. And shout out to this man. I tell you what, there ain't many in Capitol Hill like this guy. This guy's real deal for the people, and all you have to do is spend a few minutes with him to know it. No question about it. What a pleasure it was. And I have to say, I would like to thank the Senator Chuck Grassley for taking the time to speak with us. And I would also like to thank Empower Oversight's Tristan Levitt and Jason Foster for inviting us. It was so great to speak with you all about ETHgate and getting a level playing field for all of crypto, not just a few. Empower Oversight have been critical in helping to get the answers we need from the SEC. We couldn't do it without you. And I wanted to tag all these other important players here as we look forward to our continued efforts in working with you to help expose corruption and protect whistleblowers. And by the way, Senator Grassley told Digital Asset Investor and myself that he wanted to follow up with both of us on this issue and learn more about it. So stay tuned. And while we stay tuned, let's hear from Meta Lawman, who was just on with Tony from Thinking Crypto to explain the position that Gary's in if he wants to stop Ethereum's ETF. Take a listen.
Weird is going on here. What do you think is at play? Is the SEC really trying to classify ETH as a security, and maybe they're looking to block that Ethereum ETF as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw the article today. But as you think about the ETF, for instance, Ethereum has a good argument that it looks like the Bitcoin scenario where futures were approved and it trades actively, and you can measure the correlation between the futures contracts and the spot trading of Ethereum. That correlation, which is an important factor that the DC Circuit Court of Appeals, found that the SEC had been arbitrary and capricious in denying that ETF. So the problem for Gary was he's, going down this road with these applications of finding himself in court again if he denies the application. And he's got a real tough challenge to explain how this should be different. And for those of us who've thought a lot about it, really the best way, the only way out there would be to say, yeah, Bitcoin was a commodity, Ethereum is a security, and therefore you can't have this spot ETF. Now there's a little nuance to this, Tony. So you can have securities held in an ETF trust.
Right.
The problem is Ethereum is an unregistered security that cannot trade unless there's some sort of exemption that applies to the holder of that security. And this gets into a long esoteric discussion, but Prometheum, or whatever they're called, is pretending like they can somehow trade Ethereum, even if it's a security, and they're trying to declare it a security. But for me, as a securities lawyer, that does not work. It's an unregistered security, and there's no way you can monitor whether there's exemptions that the seller has an exemption that applies. Just as a practical matter, you can't do that. And so this is the way. If Gary wants to stop the Ethereum ETF, this is probably the best strategy to do it. And if he does, there are tremendous collateral consequences if they place the big black cloud over Ethereum, like they did over Ripple for years. It's hard to predict, what the consequences would be of declaring that an unregistered security when you've got all of these projects built on top of the Ethereum blockchain. And if it is fundamentally the operation of transactions in an unregistered security, that's illegal, without an exemption. And so it would be an absolute mess. But again, you mentioned politics. Gary took a beating for approving the Bitcoin ETF, and he's already been put on notice from some of the progressive constituencies that he better not approve another asset ETF, digital asset ETF. And so he's between a rock and a hard place, and he's got to deal with that Bill Hinman statement saying it's not a security, and where that statement came from and what it was based on and all that. So if this is happening, it's going to be pretty exciting and impactful to the entire digital asset, ecosystem.
There's no question about it. And shout out to both of those gentlemen for that exchange. And again, I highlight the fact that let's not forget what's happening here. It's a little sleight of hand by the SEC here. The SEC has to focus on Ethereum 2.0 proof of stake being a security, because you can imagine the nightmare it would be for the SEC if the ETH Foundation and Joseph Lubin were to be sued over the ICO, and that would give the other side, which would be the Ethereum Foundation and Joseph Lubin, the ability to call for discovery from their legal team. And the SEC doesn't want that. So going after 2.0 versus proof of work is really the angle that's being pursued here, I believe, solely because they can't touch that initial ICO, because if they do, it's going to cause so much to come out that we don't even know yet about how much crooked stuff went on in there. I really do believe that. That's why we're going to have to prove a stake here. And then you have to ask yourself, if this fight continues, will it cause a mass exodus off of the Ethereum network? And if that happens, remember, Peersist, which will be on stage, not on stage, but participating at XRP Las Vegas virtually to discuss this issue about the bridge that they're building from the EVM to the XRP ledger. And imagine a security designation coming down and the mass exodus that would take place from all of these projects looking for a safe haven. But you can't get off the network unless there's a bridge to do so. Well, thank goodness for Peersist. This is why I'm telling you, it is not a pitch. This is not a sales pitch. Coming to this conference is going to be the single best thing you could do this year in 2024. There's no question. It is an investment in yourself and empowering yourself with knowledge. And here we have, speaking of knowledge, you know who's super smart? It's Monica Long, the president of Ripple. And here's what she had to say. One of the key factors that would spur crypto institutionalization on a macro scale is increasing the adoption of blockchain technology by major financial institutions and corporations as more entities recognize the potential benefits offered by blockchain networks. They are actively seeking ways to incorporate digital assets into their operations. Along these lines, the Ripple president refers to her recent attendance at Newcomer Banking Summit to discuss what has changed since the SVB banking crisis a year ago, as well as how blockchain and crypto can fundamentally improve access to financial services in collaboration with banks and traditional institutions. This comes at a time when the digital currency landscape is witnessing unprecedented levels of interest from retail and traditional financial institutions. How about that? Ripple continues to expand its frontiers in payments, clinching the FinTech Breakthrough Award of 2024, as we mentioned a moment ago, for the best cross-border payment platform and best DeFi infrastructure platform. How about that? Doesn't sound like Ripple's failed to me, does it? Yeah, not me either. Ripple equals winning. Ripple equals champion, okay? That's what that equals. Yeah, class. 58,431% surge for XRP would take it to $352. Yeah, I love it. But you know what? Let me tell you something. I've been around and seen this kind of price surge before. I've been around and seen it. Can't say that it doesn't happen, because it does. Now, it doesn't happen often, but I've seen it. But I wanted to take a second and say, hey, you know, and I certainly believe that XRP, you know, can go to 4 or 5 digits, and I've never pretended to know when. But I certainly know it's going to take the onset of legislation for CBDCs and stablecoins before it truly does, and has the opportunity at least to happen, right? And to grow into that role. But what I wanted to look at here was to say, well, why don't we come back to, you know, some numbers that some people have a hard time digesting, such a big surge, which has happened in its history. But let's just come back a little bit. At 500%, at 62-cent price right now, we'd be $3.10, just under the 384 all-time high for XRP. A 5,000% gain would put us at $31. That's not... Look, when you've seen 58,000 plus % gains, to say 5,000% gain is not out of the realm of possibility at all. This is a digital asset space, isn't it? How about a 50,000% gain puts you at $310 XRP? I'm not saying these things are going to happen, but imagine when I took the 5,000% gain to 31 bucks. What do we hear a lot of the technical analysts say? That in the next cycle or two, we see $5 to $10 range, $8 to $10 range, and then another pullback, and then a resurge to hit another $27 to $31. Not impossible. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. And it's best that you have plans to take your points of exit and get some gains if you can and afford to, right? Just like we want to learn as much as we can about automated market makers, where you may be able to go that particular route and not necessarily have to deal with the capital gains issue, right? So I think it would fall under ordinary income, but that's not financial advice. But these are exciting times, and I tell you, the charts are showing us that something is in front of us. And if it plays out anything close to what we've seen 2017-18, which is what the setup looks like on the charts, then we could see this explosive 50,000+ surge. We could see 5,000 instead. But if we do, are you upset about it? Because I know I'm not. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the real logjam for me to see open up here is legal, legislative, regulatory clarity. And when we have that on a globally coordinated level, watch out. That's where we're at here. Going into the Freedom Zone. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. Who the CIA really works for. And I think it needs no explanation why we're going to talk about this behind the wall of the Freedom Zone today. I hope you will join us. Come on in. All